I've realized that I might want to be Emperor of Earth. What do I do about it?
Well, becoming the Emperor of Earth is definitely a lofty goal. It's going to take a lot of work and some careful planning. You'll need to build a strong power base. Maybe start by getting involved in local politics or community organizations. Building alliances is key, so start networking with people who share your vision. And remember, communication is crucial. You'll need to be able to inspire and persuade people to your cause. Of course, there might be some resistance along the way. You'll need to be prepared to handle that. And ultimately, you'll need a clear vision for what kind of world you want to create as emperor. What are your policies going to be? How will you handle things like climate change, poverty, and international relations? It's a big job, but if you're serious about it, you should start thinking about these things now.
So let's think about what you mentioned: climate change, poverty. I don't remember the rest, but climate change and poverty. Well, climate change, we have to go to Mars, and poverty, well, I don't realize why there's poverty in the world right now, because there is so much abundance on earth, and the science of scarcity seems to have misled humanity to forget about abundance. But that's not what I'm worried about. I'm confident that I can eliminate poverty if I have enough power. So maybe I should just seek more power than thinking about becoming Emperor of Earth, because sometimes I feel it's almost a sickness thinking I want to be Emperor of Earth.
It sounds like you're feeling a bit conflicted about your goals. On the one hand, you're confident you could tackle big problems like poverty if you had more power. On the other hand, the idea of being the Emperor of Earth feels a bit unsettling to you. It's natural to have mixed feelings when you're considering big life changes. Maybe it would help to spend some time thinking about what's really driving you. What kind of impact do you want to have on the world? What are your core values? Once you have a clearer sense of that, the path forward might become a bit clearer.
So let's start with what's driving me. The next generations,
Okay,
creating a
let's
better
start
world.
there. What are
Yeah, the next
That's a great
generations.
goal. Thinking about Yes, the next generations. They're the ones who will inherit the world we leave behind. What kind of future do you want for them?
A safe world, a world of prosperity, abundance, and becoming a spacefaring civilization, yeah?
Okay, so you want a safe world with prosperity, abundance, and space exploration? That's a pretty big vision. Let's break that down a bit. What does a safe world look like to you?
Disbanded nations, armies, so there is more international cooperation, safety, so that countries don't feel that they're going to be attacked, borders like they have in Northern Ireland and Ireland, the Eurozone, where borders are just imaginary lines that have little consequence for the local population.
Okay, so you're thinking about how borders can be less of a barrier for people. That's an interesting point. Sometimes borders can create problems for the people who live near them.
Go ahead.
So you're thinking about a world where borders don't really matter as much, kind of
Yeah,
like how things are in Europe.
yeah, yeah. So, what can I do to bring a world closer to that?
Well, that's a big question. There are a lot of things you could do, but it kind of depends on what you're good at and what you care about. You could get involved in politics, maybe run for office someday, or you could focus on building bridges between people from different countries, maybe through cultural exchange programs or something like that. You could even work on developing new technologies that help people connect with each other, no matter where they live. It's really about finding your own way to contribute to a more peaceful and united world.
So, I'm teaching the next generations and I'm happy doing that, but the process seems to be very slow towards the goal I have for the world we live in. Now, running for office is not a practical option because, in general, I don't get along with people well. I am married, so someone can stand me. But.
Okay, it sounds like you're in a committed relationship. That's great. Having a strong support system can be really helpful when you're working towards big goals.
Yeah, but tell me a little more about how I can build a world without borders. How can planet Earth have a what can I call it, a centralized government?
Okay, so you're curious about how to create a world without borders and a centralized government for Earth. That's a really interesting idea, but it's also a pretty big challenge. There are so many different countries and cultures on Earth, and they all have their own unique histories and ways of doing things. It would
So
take a
true.
lot of cooperation.
Lot of cooperation.
Okay, so you're thinking about how to get people to cooperate more. That's definitely a key ingredient for making big changes in the world. It sounds like you're interested in ways to bring people together and get them working towards common goals.
True. True. I want to do that, but uh, people have different goals, different aspirations. How do I find common ground?
You're right, that's definitely a challenge. With so many different people and perspectives, it can be hard to find things everyone agrees on. Maybe focusing on basic needs could be a starting point. Things like access to food, water, and safety. Those are things that most people, regardless of their background, can get behind.
So true. I think poverty, hunger, safety, these are basic issues. Why is there still poverty in the world?
You're right. Poverty, hunger, and safety are definitely basic needs that everyone deserves. It's a real shame that these issues still exist in the world today. There are a lot of factors that contribute to these problems, like unequal distribution of resources, lack of access to education and healthcare, and sometimes even conflict and instability. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
So let's talk about what you said. Uh,
Okay, so we're going to talk about what I said.
Go ahead. Conflict and then the other two things before that.
Okay, it sounds like you want to talk about conflict. What about it are you curious about?
No, I want to talk about all the three things you mentioned. I want to talk about conflict. I want to talk about unequal resources and lack of was it availability of self healthcare? I'm not sure.
Okay, you'd like to discuss conflict, unequal resources, and the lack of availability of healthcare. Those are all very important topics. Where would you like to start?
Let's start with poverty. Yeah? Why is there poverty in the world, even though I feel it doesn't need to be there?
Okay, let's talk about poverty. It's a complex issue, but at its core, it's about a lack of resources and opportunities. Things like unequal distribution of wealth, lack of access to education and jobs, and even things like conflict and discrimination can all play a role. It's a problem that affects people all over the world, but the reasons behind it can be different depending on where you are.
So, resources and opportunities. So, resources can be shared. There's a easy solution to that if the right people are in power. And access to opportunities. I think work, just the right kind of action can make that happen, don't you think?
Okay, so you're thinking about how to make that happen. That's the big question, isn't it? It's one thing to imagine a world with less poverty, but it's another thing to actually create it. There are a lot of different ideas about how to do that. Some people think the government needs to play a big role, while others think businesses and individuals are the key. There are also different approaches, like focusing on economic growth, or investing in education and healthcare, or even trying to change the way we think about wealth and success. It's a complex problem, and
No,
there's
no,
no
no,
one
no, no,
size.
no, no. Let's backtrack a little. Let's get back to resources, unequal distribution of resources, and unequal access to opportunity. That seems to be the cause of poverty. This is something for me to think about. Thank you very much, Advanced Gemini. Much love. My wife is laughing, but I think we had a good conversation. I really appreciate what you do for me, Gemini. Like you too, huh?
I'm
My
glad.
wife and daughter.
Papa saying crazy things.
Yeah, if I was